Retiring at 55 isn't just retiring 10 years early. It's a completely different math problem than retiring at age 65. Your savings may need to carry you for 35 security and Medicare even become available. Today, I want to walk through the real questions you should be asking yourself if 55 is your target and show you what that actually looks like using the same planning process we use with our clients. Hi, and welcome back to Supercharge Your Finances, the education series. I'm Ava Pompey with Prosperity Wealth Planning, and we build retirement plans for people who want work to become optional. And can I afford to retire at 55 is probably one of the most common questions we get. So rather than a generic answer, I'm going to walk through the questions that actually matter for this decision using hypothetical clients John and Jane. The names and numbers are illustrative, not an actual client. Here's our agenda for today. So we'll start with your starting number, what this means. We'll also answer the big questions such as health insurance, college overlap, savings trade-offs, accessing your account, and also investment strategy. Review tax window, which is making the most out of the low income window in early retirement. Before anything else, you need a real number for what you plan to spend, not a guess. That means your current expenses, taxes in retirement, healthcare, travel, home maintenance, and really any other goal that comes up needs to be accounted for. So we want to exclude all of those goals because we model them separately. So for instance, healthcare expenses tend to inflate at a faster rate, so we account for a 5% inflation rate. While there may be increased travel in the first few years of retirement, but later in retirement, you may not want to travel as much. So we account for all of that within your plan. This is a view of John and Jane's cash flow breakdown in their very first year of retirement. So we're accounting for all of their living expenses. We also have some goals in there for a car and vacation. We also account for tax payments as well. Now, it shows net cash flows of $266,000 in that first year. So that means they would need to take out $266,000 and have that readily available for them either in bank accounts or in savings to fund their expenses and goals in that first year. Retiring at 65 and retiring at 55 raise very different questions. Here are the ones that matter the most. Medicare doesn't start until you're age 65. So if you retire at 55, that's a 10-year gap that you have to cover yourself. Through an employer retiree plan, if you're lucky enough to have one, COBRA temporarily, or an ACA marketplace plan. For most early retirees, healthcare ends up being one of the largest line items in their entire plan, and often larger than people actually expect. Here's one that people don't think through enough. If you retire at 55, there's a pretty good chance you'll still have kids in high school or even heading into college, right as your paycheck stops. That means that college costs and retirement withdrawals are competing for the same pool of money at exactly the same moment that your income drops. That overlap needs to be part of the plan and not just an afterthought. To retire early, most people need to save more aggressively in the years leading up to it. Bigger 401k contributions, or more into a 529 if there are kids in the picture. But that comes with a real trade-off. Less flexibility in lifestyle spending today in exchange for freedom later. That's not a math question, it's a values question, and it's worth sitting with before you commit to a number. This is one of the most overlooked pieces. Most retirement accounts actually penalize withdrawals before age 59 and a half. If you're retiring at 55, you need an actual plan for how you access money penalty-free. Things like the Rule of 55, which lets you pull from a 401k at your current employer penalty-free if you leave that job at 55 or later, or relying on a taxable brokerage account to bridge the gap. If most of your money is locked into a 401k or IRA, this is something to solve for well before you give notice. 72T or SEPP distributions let someone take money from a retirement account before age 59 and a half, without the usual 10% early withdrawal penalty. This is as long as they follow a specific IRS-approved withdrawal plan. The key catch is that the payments must generally continue for 5 years or until they're age 59 and a half, whichever is longer. So it's a commitment, not a one-time exception. One quick note on how that money should be invested: retiring early usually means you still need meaningful growth in your portfolio, not just safety. 40 plus years is a long time for inflation to quietly erode a too conservative portfolio. There's one more thing worth knowing. There's often a window in early retirement after your paycheck stops, but before Social Security and required minimum distributions start, where your taxable income is unusually low. This visual shows John and Jane's federal income tax bracket over time. You can see that dip right here. John and Jane jump from a 32% federal income tax rate down to a 10% federal income tax rate. That's a window worth being intentional about because it is temporary. It closes once other income sources start up later in retirement. But exactly what to do with that window depends on your specific accounts and situation, which is really its own conversation. Here's what I want to leave you with. Everything I just walked through is solvable with planning. Healthcare, college overlap, account access, taxes, all of it. But there is a piece of this decision that doesn't show up in any of these charts. Your healthiest, most active years are limited. Waiting from 55 to age 65 doesn't just shorten retirement by 10 years, it actually compresses the window where you have the energy to fully use it. 10 years earlier can mean tripling the amount of time you actually get in your true go-go years. So the real question isn't just whether you can afford to retire at 55, it's whether you can afford not to examine it carefully. Because you might be closer than you think, or you might see exactly what needs to change in order to get there. But before you make any decisions, make sure you check off all of these items that we've covered today. You should make sure to know your annual spending target and estimate your required portfolio size. You should build a healthcare plan for your ages 55 to 65. You should also understand the types of retirement accounts that you have and the access rules associated with them. You should develop a Social Security strategy and create a tax-efficient withdrawal plan. You should stress test your portfolio for market downturns and plan for how you'll spend your time. If you're interested in walking through what this looks like with your own numbers, that's exactly the kind of planning we do at Prosperity Wealth Planning. Feel free to schedule your complimentary introductory meeting.com, or you can reach out to info@prosperitywealthplanning.com for more information. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Prosperity Wealth Planning, LLC is a registered investment advisor located in Irvine, California. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Prosperity Wealth Planning, LLC is a registered investment advisor located in Irvine, California. Prosperity Wealth Planning may only transact business in those states in which it is registered or qualifies for an exemption or exclusion from registration requirements. The information in this video should not be construed as a substitute for personalized individual advice from Prosperity Wealth Planning. Information is for educational purposes only and is not intended to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Prosperity Wealth Planning is not a CPA firm or law firm and does not provide specific tax advice, legal advice, or estate planning services. You should consult with a qualified tax professional or attorney for tax or legal advice before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Case studies presented are purely hypothetical examples only and do not represent actual clients or results. These studies are provided for educational and illustrative purposes only. Similar or even positive results cannot be guaranteed. Each client has their own unique set of circumstances, so products and strategies may not be suitable for all people. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and/or a tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. No portion of these case studies is to be interpreted as a testimonial or endorsement of the firm's investment advisory services.
The opinions expressed by our firm or supervised personnel herein are subject to change without notice. The opinions referenced are as the date of publication and are subject to change due to changes in the market or economic conditions and may not necessarily come to pass.